Hello and welcome to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton, and we come to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. Well, this show is brought to you by a local organization called Million Kids, MILLIONKIDS, Million Kids. It is called that because more than 1 million kids are trafficked throughout the world, and we are seeing this thing get bigger and bigger and bigger. I've actually been combating trafficking cases. I serve as the training and outreach coordinator for the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. That is a group led out of the Riverside County Sheriff Department. And I've been doing this over 10 years for this organization. And so every time I do this, people ask me, is it getting any better? Well, sometimes I think it is, but other times I think it's not. And in fact, the last year has been probably the toughest years of our lives in doing this, quite frankly. Part of it is because we haven't been able to go out and educate you the way that we used to do. In fact, I'm known for putting like 5,000 miles a month on my car, and I don't miss not doing that, I'll tell you. My car doesn't miss it either, to come out to your organization and educate you. But what we have done is go online, and we've created several education vehicles. And the idea there is to be able to inform you about human trafficking, social media exploitation, and child pornography, and sextortion. That's blackmail when your crazy kid sends a naked photo. And then how to deal with that. And so we have created something called Million Kids Insider Alerts. And forgive me here, I forgot to shut off my phone. Anyway, on these Insider Alerts, what happens is that we announce them and they come out to you. You have to go onto the millionkids.org organization and sign up to be able to receive them. But it's kind of like the Epic Times, if you will, only it's focused on human trafficking and sextortion and social media exploitation. And it tells you what is happening in your community. We do case analysis, which is what I'm going to do with the rest of the story today. We also announce local cases. We talk about new technologies that are being used to seduce young people into prostitution, or maybe they're coerced into it because they're an unaccompanied minor that owes money to a coyote. And we also talk about victims of child pornography. And we analyze those cases, or we tell you about legislation, and there is a lot going on in legislation that we need to talk about, but we're not going to today. I have something else for you today. But that is a great way to keep yourself up to date on what is happening in your community. Now, we are a national organization. I am a post-certified law enforcement trainer. That means that I'm certified to train first responders, and I do travel across the United States doing that. But our following is heavily in Southern California because that's where I started, and we've been doing it for many, many years. So the idea here is to alert you about the reality of how all this goes on. And that's what we're going to do today, for what it's worth. We are going to talk about a case. Now, this is not a local case to Southern California. Actually, I think in this case, it's an advantage that it's not a local case. It is a case out of Texas, although some of the trafficking took place here in California. It is a gang-related case. It's the Bloods gang, and an individual who ran a large-scale sex trafficking ring abusing adult females. And I just want to show you the anatomy of this and how it works, because people say to me, is this real? Does this really happen like it shows on TV? Well, not all the time. Sometimes people on TV exaggerate. Nah, really? Anyway, but most of the time, it is taking place exactly like this. And I saw this case and I wanted to do a case analysis, and it's pretty in depth. So I'm going to use it with you on my radio show, and we're also going to put out an insider alert on it. So if you are fascinated by this case and what's really happening, please go to millionkids.org and you'll see the photos and the word by word description of what has happened here. So this case is all about a pimp down in Fort Worth, Texas, by Dallas. He went by the name of Magnificent. Didn't seem all that magnificent to me, quite frankly. But that is not uncommon, especially in gang trafficking, which this is. One of the things that was interesting as I analyzed this case and getting ready to use it to train you all is I didn't see any other gang members that were mentioned. Usually when we have a gang case, what we'll have is, 7, 8, 9 gang members mentioned, and they all go to prison, and then they operate the gang trafficking case from prison. And we're seeing that, by the way. For those of you that don't follow us, nobody is taking that kind of thing sitting down. Both Riverside and San Bernardino County now have dogs that sniff out electronic devices. Over in Fontana, his name is Goose. I did an insider alert on a dog named Goose. Anyway, over in Riverside, the dog is named Chewy, and he reports over to the DA's office. I don't know if he realizes just how special he is, but anyway, Chewy and Goose are trained to take into prisons where they can smell out cell phones, or if you're taking in a child pornography, usually they keep it on thumb drives or hard drives, and all of those electronic devices have a chemical in them, and the dog is trained to sniff out that chemical. And that's really important on these kinds of cases, because while it may take 2 to 3 years to get a conviction on a case like this, which seems like an eternity if you're a victim of one of these things, the next fear is that you will go to prison and operate out of prison. And that is very, very common for gangs to try to do that. They actually place the sex ads using these illicit phones and control the girls and delve out the punishment and the threats so that people feel like they won't be free. And so it is a fascinating subject when you start to see how all of this is coming down. So this case is about a man by the name of Tremont Blakemore. He is out of Fort Worth. He's 39 years old. He is a Bloods gang member, and his gang moniker is Magnificent. And he insisted on tattooing that name on each of the girls that he put out into forced prostitution. That is called branding, and that is the way it works. I share that with you because so many times you talk to a sex buyer and they go, well, I don't think she's being forced into this. She's there willingly. Well, I don't dispute that there are some people that go out there willingly, or at least start out willingly, but somebody comes along to them and says, hey, I want to be your marketing agent. You're not charging enough money. Or they fall in love with a boyfriend, and the next thing you know, they are out there and they can't get free. And the common things they will do is tattoo the pimp's name on the girl. Sometimes it's in the form of a rose made out of dollar bills. A rose out of dollar bills is the most common brand that you will see for a pimp. If you see that on a guy, you can pretty well tell that he's a pimp. If you see it on a girl, it'll usually have the pimp's name on it. Now, it can also be things like a diamond with lights coming off of it, or a crown. A crown is often one that you'll see. Or the word cream, CREAM, that stands for cash rules everything around me. And so those are common brands that you will see that pimps get into that they will put on the people to be able to brand them. Well, on November 21st, 2018, and you say, well, God, that's 3 years ago. Yes, it takes a while to get these cases, these large-scale cases, to court because they're federal courts and across state lines. He is charged with aggravated promotion of prostitution prostitution, engaging in organized criminal activity, money laundering of more than $300,000. It was probably more, well over several million, tampering with evidence, and compelling prostitution by force, threat, or fraud. Sometimes it's force, fraud, or coercion, which is another word for a threat. And so this is the charges that he's looking at. So for the rest of this show, I'm going to give you the details of how this guy operated and how it worked and what happened to the victims and how the police took them down. And it's a fascinating story if you're interested in crime stories. And if you're listening, you probably are. So my name is Opal Singleton. This show is called Exploited: Crimes and Technology. We are up against that break, so stay with us. We will be right back.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited: Crimes and Technology. Hey, there are many good restaurants in the Inland Empire, but really great restaurants are hard to find. Let me tell you about the Toasted Barrel in Corona. It's a trendy, upscale steakhouse with great pasta and seafood. It's a fantastic choice for birthdays and anniversaries or just that special night out with your loved one and friends. Inland Empire magazine has awarded them Best Restaurant and Brunch for the past 3 years. The owners, Ed and Shirley, are friendly and attentive to your needs. If you're a prime rib connoisseur, this place is for you. Go ahead and try it out. The Toasted Barrel, located at 1300 El Sobrante Road in Corona. Or Google them at Toasted Barrel to make reservations. I guarantee you, you're going to love it. Be sure and tell Ed and Shirley that Opal sent you. It will be a night you'll never forget.
Real estate sales in the Inland Empire are really hot. Sellers and buyers recognize that these low interest rates will not last. Sean and Colleen at Caldwell Banker Armstrong Properties in Riverside are proud to sponsor this show. They are the best in the Inland Empire. They're fair, honest, creative, and they care about you and your situation. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Sean and Colleen at 951-529-4066.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited: Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and we are doing a case analysis for you. It is a Bloods multi-state sex trafficking ring case. It is led by a man called Tremont Blakemore. He goes by the name Magnificent. Now, also arraigned at the same time are two women, Donna Gonzalez and Peaches Hurtado. They are arrested, and what led me to start to investigate this is one of them was just charged and sentenced and for their role in it. So I want to just kind of share with you the background of how all this works. Now, I'm kind of surprised they only have 3 defendants in this case. This is a multi-state case as we get into it, and you have to know there are pimps all over the United States that are probably Bloods members that are participating in this. And so where are the arrests for them? And I'm assuming that they will start to come down state by state as they go. But at this point, they've arrested 3 people. So according to the indictment here that started, or the charges that started, Blakemore has allegedly controlled and manipulated hundreds of women over the years and trafficked the women in California, New York, Louisiana, Massachusetts, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Missouri, Tennessee, Maine, Wyoming, and Montana. So you get the idea this guy is making money hand over fist by abusing women and keeping them enslaved into prostitution. And he is running a multi-state money laundering empire. So that's why I wanted to analyze this case for you, because it usually starts out in a conversation when I'm at a dinner party. Always lots of fun at a dinner party when people find out what I do. But, they'll say, well, I think that women have a right to choose if they want to sell their body. Yeah, if you're an adult, you do have that right, even if it is illegal. You can choose to shoplift or not shoplift. That's illegal. You can choose to do prostitution or not do prostitution. I get that. But what happens in these rings is the women don't get to choose. They get lured in. Usually it's a dating site where they hook up. A lot of times it's a young lady that has an at-risk background, maybe foster care for a lifetime, or the family divorced, or they're poor, or lots of different things that lure them in. Sometimes the women are very intelligent and very accomplished women that fall in love on one of those dating sites. And in this case, as far as I can tell, all the women are adults. So they have a right to choose. But what they don't realize is once they're in one of these situations, it's nearly impossible to get out. The other thing I want you to see here by sharing the number of states that are involved is just how big these sex trafficking rings are. This is not about a pimp that's making $200-300 a night, or even $1,000 a night. He has a lot of women. They believe well over 100 women. You have to know if they're operating in other states, there are pimps that report to him and probably Blood's gang members. These gangs find this as a way of making money. In fact, it was right about 2012 that we began to realize the gangs were making more money selling especially women, but sometimes men, than they were selling selling drugs. Not as much as they are selling guns, but it is very, very profitable. And the reason for that is that you can sell a person several times a night. If you sell drugs, you got to go get more and replenish the supply. If you're caught with a truckload of drugs, you're going to go to prison, maybe. It's hard to tell now in California with their attitude, but you would think they would, right? But if you're caught with a van load of girls, it's just a big party. And that is exactly how all of this began to take place. Now, one of the things I want to say here is when I research these cases, first of all, I try to be very careful on who I'm quoting, because there is a lot of misinformation out there on sex trafficking. I want to make sure that the reporters know what they're talking about and they're dealing with facts. I report to the Sheriff Department in Riverside County and also have a contract with the U.S. Department of Justice. So we want to be factual on these things. Because of that, I want to give a shout out to a reporter by the name of Nicole Manna, Manna. She is a reporter from the Star Telegram down in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And she took in over 86 pages of arrest affidavits, including information from anonymous tips, text messages, social media accounts, and bank records. You just don't see that kind of reporting anymore, where people are really investigating reporters that want the truth and put the facts out there. And I'm real proud to, I don't know the girl, but I'm very proud of Nicole Manna and the work she did to uncover the background on this case. And I think she ought to be recognized for that. What happened is, as she looked at all this documentation, it reported how Mr. Magnificent here ran these residential brothels in upscale Fort Worth neighborhoods. Now, that's one reason I wanted to share this with you, because somehow we always think this is like the no-tell motel on the sleazy end of town. And it can be, in the poor part of town, you do see a lot of uncomfortable stuff. Homeless women that are getting exploited. A homeless woman is an exploited woman. But this isn't where it's taking place. This is in the high-end, best neighborhoods of Fort Worth and Dallas area. And as they began to discover this, I wanted to share it with you, because one of the morals of this story, you say, well, this is fascinating, but what can I do? You can educate yourself about how this works and educate others and keep your eyes out on this community, on your community. Yes, even your upscale communities, this kind of thing takes place. Educate your neighborhood, watch people. If you have a vacant home that comes due, pay attention to it. If you see activity suddenly on it and it doesn't look like a moving van, call the police and say you might have a temporary brothel going, and get them to come out. Do not wait till Monday morning to call code enforcement. Now, I'm the statewide code enforcement trainer for the California Code Enforcement Association, and they are trained to look out for this. But so are your law enforcement. But these things take place very quickly. So educate yourself about it and educate your neighbors and pay attention of who is in your community. We don't have to be too nosy, but pay attention. Pay attention. Is it possibly an illegal pot grow house? And if it is, call the police. If it's in Riverside County, call the Riverside County Sheriff, or San Bernardino, the San Bernardino County Sheriff, and say, we're keeping an eye on a house that seems to be changing residents. It seems to be vacant, but suddenly there's somebody there. Or maybe you're seeing something that might be illegal pot grow, of people coming and going of odd hours and not really living the life. And that is how one of these cases actually was brought together, was the neighborhood paid attention. If you have a rental house, get to know the landlord and protect your community, because this is taking place in average communities. In this one, it was an upscale community, and it's a Bloods member that is operating these brothels in very fancy places. So this case started actually when a woman told police she was traded to a pimp in Wyoming. She said that 39-year-old Tremont Blakemore, Magnificent, it's actually pronounced Macnificent. He went by Mac often. That led to this sex trafficking ring and its headquarters in an affluent neighborhood being investigated. Now, this ultimately is how it started, but one of the things you'll see is this took place in several different upscale houses, and the neighbors started reporting it. This particular one, this girl did not just normally come forward. This is one fancy dancy house I'm looking at here. It's multi-million-dollar house that he is renting, and it's in one of the best neighborhoods in Fort Worth. According to what happened here, it's a six-bedroom house in West Oak Cliff, across from the Dallas National Golf Course or Club. It's touted as the biggest house on the block. On the morning of April 4, several Dallas police cars rushed into the house after a report of a home invasion shooting. A girl was shot in the buttocks after a masked man got in. Officers looked around and suspected prostitution was taking place, but the women denied it. It was the next day that a woman at the house who had lied to Blakemore about being sick, she took an Uber and went to a Dallas hospital. She had been shot. So get this. This nurse, somebody in this hospital, is trained on human trafficking, and they listened to her. And this case then began. And I want to really take this apart and dissect it for you, because it is a tremendous training education on how to spot this if you see it in your community. My name is Opal Singleton. We are up against that break, so we're going to be right back. Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited, Crimes and Technology. I want to tell you about a book I wrote called Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers. It's all about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit our young people using social media, online gaming, video chat rooms. Technology is changing at the speed of light, and we have to understand how to keep our kids safe from predators. So you can get this book by going to www.millionkids.org. It's $16. I'll sign it and I'll ship it to you personally. We hope that you will order this book, educate yourself about how to keep our kids safe in this day of changing technology. Join us each Saturday for our radio show at Exploited Crimes and Technology at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer. Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and we are analyzing a case from Dallas, Texas, but part of it took place here in California. So I want to educate you because this is an upscale ring that is being operated by the Bloods gang member. It is a multi-state ring, and it is a fascinating story, and there is a lot to learn from it. So I am going to do a Million Kids Insider Alert. If you want to share this story with someone, we'll have a slideshow and all the details on it. You can do that by going to millionkids.org and sign up for those insider alerts. There are no charges for it. It's a free program. You have to subscribe, and we don't sell your name. But it is a way to keep yourself educated. I do want to give a quick shout out, and we'll get back to our story here, but I appreciate very much every one of you that listen to this show and share it with others, which I know you do because you tell me about it. And I so much appreciate it. And I also appreciate those of you that support this show financially that makes all of this education possible and this research and getting the information out. So what had happened is that somebody had been shot in the rear end, and the police were called out there. They thought it was a brothel. They thought it was prostitution, but nobody was willing to talk. And then the very next day, a girl is able to lie to Mac, and that is scary as heck because once he realizes it, she's going to be in big, big trouble. But what had happened is somewhere along the line, this girl is desperate enough. And somewhere in the encounter with law enforcement, she began to believe that she could trust them. And she came forward. That very, very seldom happens. But I want to give a shout out to the law enforcement that handled this because they handled it in such a way that she was willing to trust and reach out. Once she got to the safety of the hospital, and keep in mind, she knows she can never go back. Her life, she'll probably be killed if she goes back because she's now lied to the pimp and she snuck out and she's cooperating with police. These people are Bloods gang members. They don't take that lightly. So she told the police when she got there that Blakemore beat her and threatened to kill her and the other women that he controlled. Now, keep in mind, just the day before, she's telling police, oh, no, this is not like you think. We're just a bunch of girls living together. But somewhere along the line, she felt the trust. She got away from the other girls, and that's very important because you don't know which one of those girls is working with the pimp and which one is being just simply violated and is a victim just like her. But she took a chance, and when she got to the hospital, she said there were about 20 of the girls living there, that she had become part of his circle after a pimp in Wyoming traded her. Now, I want you to realize this. She said the women lied to the officers the day before because Mac will kill them if they report or try to cooperate. So you learned a lot right there, whether you realize it or not. And that is that these girls get caught up in this without realizing what's about to happen to them. It may be a boyfriend. It may be, she's working with a guy. Maybe she's decided to do her own freelance prostitution, and she gets caught up with a pimp and sucked right down the drain as her life becomes absolutely out of control. And that is often how it happens. I get this sometimes because people will see my cases and they go, what is that beautiful 14-year-old girl doing with that nasty man there? Is her pimp. He's like 44 years old. Well, she didn't start out there. As you saw in this case, she was traded from her pimp in Wyoming to a guy down in Texas. And so this is exactly how it happens. You don't get the choice. And contrary to popular belief, once you're in this, it is very difficult to get out. I say that because you might be on a jury someday with a case like this. And oftentimes somebody on that jury will say, hey, this girl's alone in a motel room with a guy. Why doesn't she run? Or why doesn't she ask for help? She can't, because if she gets caught, she will die. And it will be a long and slow and miserable death. So they keep these young ladies enslaved, and that is what happened. So it took 5 months for the police department to develop this. Now, I want to comment on that. It is not uncommon for these kinds of cases to take a year. In fact, I'm kind of surprised it only took 5 months. This is a very large scale ring over 10 different states with multiple pimps and multiple women controlling other women. As you saw, there were 2 women who were arrested when he got arrested. So literally 60% of women are recruited by another woman, and that is called a bottom. I won't use the real language because this is a family show, but this is a girl who gets recruited and then she gets promoted. And a lot of times, just out of survival, she will do what is necessary to become a leader. Other times, she becomes more violent than the pimp themselves because they know that's the only way they're going to survive this. So what I want to share with you here is that 5 months later, they ran a SWAT sting on this. So it takes a while to build these cases. According to this Fort Worth Star Telegram, and again, I so much appreciate this young lady, Nicole Manna, for reporting it and investigating it. She said the SWAT vehicle dug its tires into the front lawn of the house and broke the glass door. Blakemore moved his operation from an Oak Cliff. Keep in mind, he had 7 of these homes that are all multi-million-dollar homes, and that they're renting this thing in. They showed up at these fancy houses. The neighborhood calls itself a luxurious community with miles of beautiful trails to dazzling pools and a community center, according to the Homeowners Association. And so what happened is this is the only rental house on the street. One of the things you're going to see as we learn from this case is that neighbors have begun to realize what was going on, and they have been reporting it to the police. Thank you very much for being educated, alert, and being willing to anonymously report so you don't get yourself in danger. And I do want to reiterate that if you see something like this, do it and report it so that you don't go in there and take these people on like they do in the movies. I am against that. You're talking about the Bloods gang people here, and the last thing you need is a housewife out there getting in an argument with somebody trying to take them on. As he sat handcuffed on the curb, the neighbors took his picture and posted on private Facebook. Here's something I want you to hear. Blakemore's 2 children, both toddlers, have since been placed into foster care. Why do I tell you that? Pimps will get girls pregnant for the sole purpose of controlling them the rest of their lives. And these kids are growing up in this environment and being controlled. And so you do need to watch out for those people. Thank you that somebody paid attention and was able to report this so that those kids could be out there. You want to know why a girl doesn't run? Just imagine the power of this when your pimp is your baby's daddy. That's tough. You want a daddy for your baby, but this one is abusing you and changing your life. So thank you to the people that reported this. His social media seemed to be used as a networking tool and a platform to show off wealth. So if you see these Instagrams or these Facebooks where they're flaunting money and pimping, there is a hotline number I'm going to give you at the end of this show. Turn it in, send it in to them because they love to brag about their money and their power. He says that people are writing into him and posting right there on his Instagram. I like your style, man. Being a white boy in this this game. I want to learn from the best. So he is recruiting other pimps to run the rest of his operation. So what happened here is that even after he was arrested, some people still supported him on Facebook, saying he did not abuse any women. I'm going to tell you, those women would not agree with you. So a SWAT team took in early morning in November, and the operation came after a 3-month multi-jurisdiction investigation headed up by the Dallas Police Department, and it included arresting the alleged ringleader, which is Magnificent, and also 2 other what they call bottom women who were controlling these women. In the end, they rescued 15 women. These are ages 19 to 54. And these women have been placed in areas where they can get assistance. And we're going to talk about that in the next segment about what kind of deal this is. So what happened here is as the women and children came out of the house, there was an additional man in the home who was refusing to leave. They used flashbangs to kind of basically ferret him out. I point this out because this takes a SWAT team to go after these kinds of people. If you see it, report it anonymously and do not get involved, okay? It is important to understand that. My name is Opal Singleton. This show is Exploited Crimes and Technology. We'll be right back.
Custom Service Systems, a proud supporter of Million Kids, is a family-owned and operated commercial cleaning company servicing the Inland Empire and surrounding areas since 1974. CSS takes pride in their ability to maintain the business facilities they serve and their long-lasting relationships with their valued clients. CSS provides a variety of cleaning systems customized to client needs, including deep cleaning and disinfectant to be COVID-19 compliant. From basic office cleaning to windows and floors, CSS will clean up your mess so you don't have to stress. Custom Service Systems cares about families and communities and wants to give back. Custom Service Systems are proud supporters of Million Kids to keep kids safe from predators. If you need the best cleaning services for your business or corporation, contact Custom Service Systems at cssclean.com. Again, cssclean.com, or call 951-781-9345. That's 951-781-9345. You will know you found the best. Custom Service Systems.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Let me tell you about my friend Doris Anderson at Remax Realty in Upland. She is amazing. She's kind, she's patient, but she listens. And she's informed, and she will help you with your real estate transaction in a way that works for you. Doris, in full disclosure, often supports the work of Million Kids because she cares about young people. But she knows how to analyze a market, how to market a property, and how to find just the right transaction for both buyers and sellers. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate or invest in income property, contact Doris Anderson at Remax Realty 951-733-8899. That's 951-733-8899. 951-733-8899.
This message is all about Million Kids, the organization that helps locate missing kids throughout Southern California and educates to keep kids safe from predators. Million Kids educates school administrators, teachers, parents, and teenagers how predators identify a potential victim and the methods they use to recruit innocent kids. BMW of Riverside is a proud supporter of Million Kids. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or click bmwofriverside.com.
AM 590. The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and we're talking about a case out of Dallas, Texas that involved prostitution right here in California. So you think these girls aren't being exploited? Let me share with you how this worked. Every night he gave them a $1,000 quota before they were allowed to return home. They only got $10 a day for food. And the dates he said, range from $100 to $250 for a full hour, $100 for a half hour. And sometimes the client traveled to the women or the women traveled to them. That is scary as heck. That's called an out call. It's one thing to have someone come into these brothels where other people are in there with you and can protect you. But if you're going out to an out call, they usually cost a lot more money. You don't know what you're walking into and what you're going to be forced to do. They said, I looked at this here. If 20 women made $1,000 a night, that is $7.3 million a year. Now, they believed that he had more than 100 women that he was controlling. But this is about gangs using enslaved people to make a lot of money and then live a luxurious lifestyle. And a lot of it is being processed right back to the gang. At the time of this, the bank accounts tied to one of the suspects, which was Peaches Hurtado, which is why she was arrested. She is the one that is showing all of the bank deposits. And she was charged with aggravated promotion of prostitution and engaging in organized criminal activity. Again, if there were only 20 girls, and we believe that they're up to 100, and they're making $1,000 a night, that's $20,000 just for the first 20 girls, or $7.3 million a year. If he had 100, that is over $70 million a year. So as they went out and took this down, there were a lot of women that were in the house. We separated them, interviewed them individually. They said they were just living together. The police knew there was more going on, but he couldn't get them to talk at that point. But they didn't give up. They kept watching that house, and they talked to the homeowners association and the owner of the house. So, law enforcement's taking a heck of a beating these days. I give these guys credit. They stayed with it. They were suspicious. They knew what they were hearing wasn't right, and they continued their investigation until they finally got it down there. They were claiming initially that it wasn't a brothel, but we had over 60 pages of investigative notes when this girl finally came forward. They were able to collaborate her story and support her. So the police were able to identify and assist them. They began to support them and take this case and began the arrests and also the indictments in there. At least 7 of the victims have been identified and interviewed by this time. The girls gave their testimony to them. He required absolute loyalty from the women he trafficked, encouraging them to get tattoos bearing magnificent on there. He did not let them become close friends with one another or talk to others, or to talk to other men unless the man was a sex buyer. As they spoke, they said that Blakemore used physical violence to coerce obedience, including hitting them with objects and burning them with cigarettes. Does this sound like they're there voluntarily to you? One woman said that he threw her against an air conditioning unit after she wanted to leave. When she couldn't stand up, he started to kick her. The woman told investigators she escaped from the front desk of a hotel, called the police, and drove herself to the hospital. And Blakemore attacked her in front of all the other women to make her an example. The women were forced to have sex with him. Every night they had this quota. And the dates, they said, range from $100 to $250. And so we began to find out that these women aren't there willingly. Now, once they were rescued, the women were given all kinds of services, especially legal representation. Because think about this, some of them have probably been arrested for prostitution. And one of the ways they keep these girls in the ring is tell them that they can't get a regular job because they have an arrest record. And so they will give them legal representation to help them build their cases and become victims. They will be given safe haven, often moved out of the community. Riverside in San Bernardino County is so fortunate to have wonderful safe houses here in Riverside County. Out of San Bernardino, you have Open Door. Out of Riverside, you have Operation Safe House. And Safe House of the Desert and CASA, which is now REACH and Run to Rescue and Family Justice Center, because their needs of these young women are great. They need psychological counseling. They need medical care. They need rehabilitation if they were forced into taking drugs. They need financial stability. They need the family support to be able to re-enter into our society. So this case is still pending. He has not yet been convicted, so I'm going to say alleged as all of this is coming out until he goes through the rule of law. The one young lady did get convicted for being a bottom girl and money laundering to handle all of the money. So as we look at all of this, a reason I've taken your hour on a wonderful Saturday afternoon is to educate you. First of all, talk to your daughters and your sons. Talk about the fact that this starts out looking really glamorous, making a little extra money, maybe being an independent, thinking you're going to do a lot of amateur pornography or get discovered. And before long, it reminds me of Johnny Cash and the burning ring of fire. You go down, 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 and the ring gets higher. And that is how it goes. And I can guarantee you that not one of these women that started out in this ever had the ability to visualize how difficult their life was going to be. But just because they got in it doesn't mean they can't get out. They need us to keep an eye out. Watch your neighborhood, whether it's an expensive home or maybe you live in a less expensive part of town. Watch those rental houses that become vacant. Are they doing illegal pot growing in there? Do you see a bunch of men showing up at odd hours of the day or night, or suddenly an empty house is taken over by people that don't seem to be in a moving van? Pay attention, and I'm going to give you a hotline number that you can take. Take this down. It's also on millionkids.org website. It's 1-888-3737-888. 1-888-3737-888. This show will also be archived at millionkids.org. If you want to download it, hear it again, share it, and we will be creating an insider alert with all the information on this particular one that you'll be able to show along with a PowerPoint. So I hope it has been helpful. I know this is hard to hear. I get that. I live in this world and nobody really wants to hear about human exploitation, and probably me least of all because I've been doing this 13 years. But it's going to get more difficult for a lot of reasons. Our kids are playing online and they're giving out naked photos where they get blackmailed, and the next thing you know, they get tricked into it. Sometimes, it's just a dating site or one of those hookup sites, and they end up with a gang member. Pay attention. If this is happening in your neighborhood or your family, get counseling, get help, and report it if somebody is actually doing this. If you see something that's urgent, call police, call 911 and say, I think I'm seeing sex trafficking, and here it is. And I'm sure that you can do that anonymously. If you want more information on this, you can follow Million Kids at millionkids.org, or you can write to me. Now, I'm not 911, believe me. I live a very busy life. You do not want to call me if you need an immediate response. But if you got something you want to share with me, you can do that at Opal, OPAL, at millionkids.org. So I want to just take this last minute to say thank you. We've been doing this 13 years, and it's not just me. I'm the face of it. We've got another gal that's going to be coming on the radio with me, Nancy Aguirre, and she is an absolute expert on it. We have several people that make this organization work, but our goal is prevention and intervention. This is all about understanding how it works and becoming educated and sharing that information with your other people. So follow us at Million Kids and download these shows. Get others to listen to the show and share the archived shows after the fact. I am grateful to partner with AM 590, The Answer. They're wonderful folks, and they are committed to keeping our kids safe from predators, the same as Million Kids is. So thank you very much for all of you that go to millionkids.org and hit that donate button or send us a check the old-fashioned way. We can't do this without you. So you folks have a great week, okay? Look at your kids and tell them how proud you are of them. Come alongside of them with their social media education. And I just want to share with you how much you all mean to me. Let your spouse know that they're important in your life. And we'll see you next Saturday at 3 o'clock.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the darknet will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.